Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, the best damn podcast for the best damn football team. I'm your host, the Football Grump. With me, as always, is Mike, the Cranky Fan. What is going on, Cranky?
Grump, it is Cowboys hate week, and it's a lot better when you are tied for the conference lead with a 2-0 record. So screw the Cowboys. Let's get started.
Now, this is your most hated rivalry in the division, right?
I don't know. I mean, Dallas and Philly are pretty much neck and neck. I mean, Cowboy fan, the North Jersey Cowboy fan, that the bandwagon one who couldn't tell you where Arlington, Texas was from, a hole in the head. They're embarrassing, but Philly fan is just an awful specimen of person, of human being. So, I think it depends on who's better at that time, but I hate both of them pretty equally. And the Commandos have been so irrelevant for so long. The hell with them.
So the Cowboys game gets its own special episode away from all the other fanfare that we do around these episodes. No, it's just because it's going to be a Monday night game, so we have some things we would like to address now, and then we can have a really up-to-date and accurate Monday morning episode for you to preview the game,
That's
get
right.
you ready.
Mhm.
But in the meantime, we still have some other stuff to talk about. We have some Kenny Golladay news that just has to get discussed. It's a little bit of cleanup from earlier this week as well.
Mhm.
We got some really, really big news on the injury front as well. That's got to get talked about. We have a college weekend to talk about. But first, let's kind of we're going to do like a new thing now with the way that the format is for the, just how quickly we can, get these episodes out. Kind of, there's always something that we miss when we review these things pretty quickly. And we do a pretty good job, I think, of waiting a whole day and watching a bunch of stuff, but to give a pretty accurate review episode, but we do miss some stuff. So this is going to be our new little segment upon further review, and it's just little things that we missed. And I actually have two things here. The first is that we missed that my prediction was damn close. I said that there was going to be an ugly game that would end Giants 20, Panthers 17. I got us an ugly game with Giants 19, Panthers 16.
Yeah, I thought this segment was called upon further review, not toot my own horn.
Well, we missed it. We didn't acknowledge it. No. Really, upon further review, we're a little bit harsh on my end on Daniel Jones. He just looked a different kind of uncomfortable, but he had a particularly good drive in the third quarter. I did mention the drive. I called it the adjustment drive, but really, upon further review, looking forward through the rest of the game from there on out was a lot more better decisions, a lot more comfort in the pocket. I had a lot less notes of him missing throws. This particular drive had a lot of really good throws in general. A laser throw to Richie James that people have already highlighted this throw on 3rd and 9 where he kind of laced it right through like 3 or 4 defenders. But then he had a series of good throws following that, against his body on a rope. And then another strong throw over to Tanner Hudson on the sideline. I thought Daniel Jones actually did have a better second half than first half. I think I was just so thrown by the different kind of off that he looked in this game. But yeah, upon further review, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the sole culprit why this team is 32nd in the league in passing after 2 games. So we can't dump everything on Daniel Jones. But the fact is, if this team wants to be considered seriously for making a playoff run, they're going to have to generate more passing offense. And, right now we have a collection of receivers that are meh, and we'll get into that in a little bit with Kenny Golladay discussion. We have, the interior of the line is not pass blocking very much at all. And did you happen to see Grump watching the Monday night game? There was, Head and Shoulders has a commercial, and what they do is they have little segments from like the previous week's game. Like, remember Alcoa presents fantastic finishes. Well, they have something here where they're talking about good protection, and they talked about the Giant game against Tennessee, and I think they said something to the effect of, the Giants with Mark Lewinsky and John Feliciano providing great protection. And I literally almost snorted out the Coke I was drinking out of my nose when I heard that, how hilarious and just tone deaf that was. But, you know, the bottom line is, this passing offense has to get better. But to your point, it's not all on Daniel Jones, and he's making incremental improvements on little things on the margins.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think I downplayed a lot of his second half play. Whatever. Going into you hinted forward at Kenny Galladay, and that's got to get talked about here. So I guess the full context we already covered. Kenny Galladay was told as early as last Wednesday that he would not really be playing in this game. He had 2 snaps in the game on Sunday. He was, quote, a professional about it. No one else knew. Apparently some players didn't even know that he wasn't going to be playing in that game very much. And he finally spoke to the media about it on Wednesday this week. And he was pretty candid about it, saying things like, it is what it is. I'm not here to be friends with coaches. It's a business. It's a job, that kind of thing. But there was one thing that he said that kind of stuck out to me as, I don't know, I guess noteworthy, was that he said, I should be playing regardless. Regardless of what? I don't know about that, man. You shouldn't be playing regardless. Why should you be playing regardless? If you're not playing better than anybody, then you shouldn't be playing, regardless of what.
Well, I don't want to break these things down by every single word that's said.
No, I don't either. But I think there is some level of. Okay, so I guess to complete this story, whatever, that little bit stuck out at me, whatever. But to complete this story, I guess it's sort of being framed now by media members that he is hustling a little bit harder in practice. Brian Daboll seemed to be acknowledging that he is hustling harder. This is kind of all they can do really is nudge him. They're kind of strapped by his contract for this year, so they can either sit him or nudge him. So,
and that's exactly what I said on the earlier this week's show. I said, well, maybe this is like a last-ditch attempt to motivate the guy into trying harder and being more, proactive in trying to get playing time. I mean, there's some sort of friction between him and the coaching staff because, from a talent standpoint alone, he's got more talent than those other guys do. I mean, I don't think Kenny Stills is ever going to be in line to be offered the amount of money that Kenny Galladay was. And that regardless comment might have been, again, this is conjecture, but might have been just regardless of what the coaches feel about me or our personalities, because there seems to be some evidence that personality decisions make impacts on personnel on this team. And maybe he's fallen victim to that same, issue. I don't know if I even want to call it an issue or not, but the same thing that caused a guy like, Martinez not to be here anymore. So I think that's might have would have been for it. But, I think that now he's fallen to that unfortunate situation where, the narrative about Kenny Galladay is that when he said those comments, it became categorized as, well, he's just chirping and he's complaining and he's not, he's digging a bigger hole for himself. And that I completely disagree. I gave the coaching staff a star for, if he's truly not the best player, he should be sitting and setting a new culture. But, this is the guy that we complained on Sunday, or people noted that he cleared out his locker and was gone before the media was here. Now we're complaining when he actually stands and talks to the media. I mean, if fans and some certain media members have it out for him, it's like pissing in the wind. You're always going to be you're facing uphill the entire time. So, he stood up there. When you get surrounded at your locker and you answer questions that are asked of you honestly, and they weren't mean-spirited, they weren't disrespectful. He said, "Yeah, I think I should be playing." When asked a direct question. So let's, when you hear these things, just because you have a narrative in your head that you want to follow along with, let's take what he's actually saying at face value. And, what would you do if you were someone that was getting paid a lot of money because of your reputation, and your past performance, and you're not being played, and you feel like you're better than the other guy, and these guys all do because they're all professional athletes, and hopefully this we need him. I mean, he's a good receiver. He has a skill set that even if the system isn't right for him, it's up to the coaching staff to tweak it while they have this guy still on the team. He'll be gone soon enough, but for now, it seems silly that you can't utilize him in some way. So I think this still has to play out. I still think there's a role for him on this team. I think we'll see him on the field at some point. Just has to be the right time, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really have an issue with him being pissed off that he's not playing. I have no issue with that. In fact, I think that's kind of the whole point is
Right.
to get him mad. I understand that, and I'm the one who is. Yeah, I'm over here defending Daniel Jones a little bit because he's not really throwing to anybody. Because
Right.
we're actively sitting very talented players. Actually, we're sitting a lot of money is what we're sitting as well. So I agree with all that. I think the one thing that I don't know, it's just I agree with you. We should not be sitting here mincing apart each word individually, but I don't know. The word regardless just struck out at me. Is like, no, it's not regardless. Don't miss the point here. Like, you're not playing probably because you're not showing anything in practice. You haven't shown anything in any of the preseason games. There is a reason you're not playing, and he knows it. There's no way the coaches just told him like, oh, we're just sitting you this week.
No, I mean,
not gonna tell you why, but it's a secret.
they told Logan Ryan to hit the bricks, and they told Blake Martinez to hit the bricks. They can't tell him to hit the bricks because it was
Logan Ryan was not even brought into really the facility at that point.
okay. But Blake Martinez was, and the only reason that he's still on the team now is because of the salary. So they're doing what they can. So I don't. I think that regardless, I again, I took it a little bit more as regardless of what you think of me,
Maybe.
or regard.
Yeah. And you know what? To be fair, I all I have is the quote. I don't have the actual video, so I really didn't want to dissect the whole thing. It just was in all of the responses that were pretty much just your standard, what you'd expect, whatever. That one stuck out for that one. Really didn't mean to highlight it that much. Other news, I guess. The only other real noteworthy Giants news that I can find really is injury front. A lot of stuff on the injury front. Obviously, they were able to scheme around not having Aaron Robinson last week. It looks like they're probably going to have to do that again. It's just the nature of surgery, not really the fact that it was an appendix or anything else. It just takes time to heal an incision that big to be ready to hit other humans at 100 miles an hour.
And take it from me, who's had, appendix removed. It's pretty amazing how the thought that he could possibly play this week so quickly after is pretty remarkable. Because it took me, I played, baseball in high school, and I almost missed the entire season because I couldn't play because of it. Now, granted, I'm kind of a puss and not a world-class athlete, but we're talking about something that just happened, 7-8 days ago.
It's
pretty quick.
Been that long? Yeah, I guess it has
Mm-hmm.
been. It's looking like Leonard Williams might miss the first game of his career. Left halfway through the game last week with an MCL sprain to his knee. I don't believe he's practiced yet this week. I would be really surprised if he played in any capacity. It's a bummer, too. It's a game we could really use him in.
Tough break. I mean, again, for all the heroics with Cooper Rogers, it's still a backup, and you have to think that they're going to dumb down the playbook a little bit and rely on the running game more. And having Leonard Williams in the middle would be a huge asset that we're not going to have this week.
And I don't really know. It's still looking like Wan'Dale Robinson not coming back from that knee injury this week. I don't think he's practiced yet either, but I do believe he's coming along. If it's not this week, I think it might be next week for him.
What was his injury again? Was it MCL as well?
I don't know if we ever got like the specifics of it just being like a weird knee injury, and I couldn't even tell you the play in which it happened in Tennessee. He just kind of fell weird or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I know it's a little apples and oranges, but I thought I saw somewhere it was an MCL for him, like an MCL sprain. and then trying to kind of say, well, if he's been out for a couple of weeks now, there's pretty difficult to expect that Leonard Williams will be back so quickly too. But again, it's little apples and oranges.
Yeah. Um, Dane Belton is limited, I think, only some kind of hit he took, but otherwise is continuing to be all the way back. It looks like new addition to the limited list are 3 players. John Feliciano having some kind of leg issue. Hopefully he's full go. I don't know what more we could take as far as hits on the offensive line.
Yeah.
But Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, officially limited in practice this week so far. It would be really cool if we could see both of them on Monday night.
Again, with a backup quarterback, the best thing you could do is put pressure on him. And if those are our 2 pass rushers, you'd love to have them in there, or at least one of them in there. But again, it's only week 3. I don't know and I understand it's a division game. I understand it's Monday night. I understand everybody's in playoff mode, but we are not even a quarter way through the season yet, especially with a guy like Tibbs, who is the future franchise of this defense. So, if they are only at X% and not really ready to play, hold them out till next week.
I'm just so excited to see, I've been so happy with the defense and what they've been able to do so far. I just really want to see what it looks like with a legitimate pass rush just coming from the front guys. And Tibbs and Azeez are both guys that can drop back into coverage on weird disguised looks. I mean, Wink has people like Dexter Lawrence dropping into coverage randomly on plays like that. So that they're going to do that. But they're Kayvon did it at Oregon. I'm pretty sure Azeez did it too at Georgia. But it just adds so many more dimensions to a defense that is already exciting and fun to watch.
Sure. Yeah.
And it would just be really, really cool to have it happen on the whiteout night. So here's the thing. Let's talk about this really quick.
Sure.
This will be kind of the last thing before we go into weekend stuff here. Brian Daboll has sent an email out to all the season ticket holders calling – first of all, thanking and congratulating Giants fans for bringing energy last week, which they got a star from me. Giants fans lately have not been very loud at home. But then asking all of us to wear white and white out the stadium. I think we're going to be seeing towels again. We got towels last week for the home opener. I lost mine or something. I have no idea. I don't even know if I grabbed one, to be honest with you. What are your thoughts on a whiteout? I think we might have talked about this once briefly. I don't think ever on the show, though.
I am 100% for it. And here's my reasoning. It goes back, you guys all know I am a disciple of Steve Spurrier, and he believes in mind games. And the Dallas Cowboys always want to wear white. They always wear white at home. They almost always wear white on the road. It's kind of like how LSU always wears white. You do little things to irritate your opponent. And you know something? If they, for some reason, don't like wearing blue, fuck them. Wear your whites. White out the stadium. In the end of it means absolutely nothing as far as what's going to go on in the field. But you know something? Anything you can do to kind of poke or disrespect, quote unquote, America's team, I'm all for it. So I think it's great. I think it's genius. The color rush uniforms. I'm not the greatest fan of going back to those 80s uniforms. I love our uniforms now, but I think in the situation, I'm very comfortable with it, and I'll be wearing my throwback white jersey, my Eli jersey for the game.
I'll be in my Eli jersey as well. I love this shit. I think this is cool. I think anything. I think first of all that this is brilliant. Important but not coaching related stuff that Brian Daboll, Joe Shane have done since they came here. They were very actively involved in the Rangers playoff run. They were very public about it. Always seen talking about that kind of thing. Whatever. Just little things to kind of really cornerstone themselves in the market here, whatever. And this is kind of like a big Penn State thing. Penn State is a big school in this area. There is no like real local to this area college.
Saquon went to Penn State.
Saquon went to Penn State. You know what I mean? I mean, and in general, yeah, whatever. But I think this is perfect. This is great. I think Giants fans need this. I think it's a little risky. I mean, I don't know. Monday night crowds at MetLife are really whack. They're like the wackest crowds that there are. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean, in our section in 124, there is what 8 of us who sit together, 10 of us in our row, and we'll be the only 2 people that will be there Monday night. The other guys, for whatever reasons, they sell their tickets to primetime games, and that's their right to do. But in its place,
but they're not alone. You're not singling anybody
out.
Oh,
of course not. No.
I'm
just
giving the theme here.
That's the theme, right? And in its place, you're not going to get fellow Giant fan who's been following the team for 30, 40 years and has all the nuance that those guys do. You're going to get either meathead Giant fan who's just looking to get really wasted and act like an a-hole, or worse, you're going to get Tony Soprano Cowboy fan with the thick Jersey accent who's a bigger a-hole. So you get that weird vibe in the stadium. You get obnoxious Cowboy bandwagoner fan. You get the Giant fan who's just looking to pick fights, and it's not like going to a game like Kansas City on a Monday night where it's the communal event where, the whole city's rallying around it, and it's a place to be in that town. So it's home field advantage definitely drops a couple of notches here relative to other places for the Monday night game.
I think also there's a whole lot of third quarter departures. Is people like
sure.
got up early for work Monday morning, got to get up early for it's just whack. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority here, but if I'm paying money to go to something and have a good time, the price I'm really paying is just being tired tomorrow.
Well, yeah. Well, remember
the whole time. Like,
you are also a real Giant fan, and you are a football fan.
I mean, it's just a philosophy. If I'm going,
but a lot of these morons are just there. A lot of these morons are just there just to say they were there, get their Instagram pictures up, run their mouths, get really hammered, and then just whenever they're done, they're done. They're not worried about the score. They're not worried about all this other stuff. They're just, they're just there because it's a different kind of thing, unlike what the Kansas City crowd, for example, or Buffalo crowd would be like.
So do you think it's going to work?
I think so. I think they, the word got out very quickly. We got that email from the Giants Monday. It's been something it made its way around social media really quickly. I know all the other shows have been talking about it. We're talking about it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's great because this fan base has been very disconnected from this team over the last decade. The ownership has done nothing to endear itself. This fan base hated Dave Gettleman. They didn't like, the Joe Judge, theatrics that he had and everything. The free Pepsi at the end of the season was a real FU to the fans after having to endure a bad season. And anything that this organization can do that kind of bridge that gap between fan and team helps. And, the email might have been a form letter written by somebody and Daboll signed it. He might have wrote it himself. Who knows? But they are trying at least to, get the fans re-energized and involved. Winning cures a lot of things, but doesn't cure everything. And it's a great way to help build goodwill. And I applaud it. I give him a star for it, a pregame star.
I think it's risky with the crowd at hand, but I'm glad they're doing it. I'm excited.
What's the risk? What's the worst that can happen?
Well, there is no. I mean, it would be embarrassing if I don't know.
Well, I mean, think about it.
A whiteout game. I don't know.
But remember,
it's not that risky. It doesn't do anything.
Let's say there's 40% Cowboy fans, right? Worst case scenario, who are in the building. 90% of those Cowboy fans are wearing white jerseys. So
that's not what I mean. It would just be. It's a risky game to do it with a risky crowd. You know what I mean? I don't think we match up all that well. It's one of our weaker crowds generally.
Well, we both agree that it has absolutely no impact on the game itself.
No, it has no impact on.
Yeah,
that's why.
So
that's
there's
why
no risk.
the risk. No, there was no risk on the game, dude. I just meant is risky for embarrassment. It would be
Embarrassing, but
embarrassing.
how? Embarrassing of what?
Because it's embarrassing to call for a whiteout game to try and do a move like that and then just get the shit kicked out of you. And also the crowd sucks. I mean, it's just it.
Well,
I don't know.
in
It's
that
an
case,
easy thing to make fun of. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. The scoreboard matters. If
right. I mean,
it
it's
would be
also
embarrassing if nobody showed up at all and you still kick the shit out of the other
well, it's
team.
also
and still-
risky too, like doing like Ring of Honor in a game like that. Also,
Yeah, we endured all that shit already. And
Yeah,
we've lost
I mean-
for every Ring of Honor inductee in the last like 3 years.
yeah. I mean, end of the day, what happens on the field is the important story. And if this team gets the shit kicked out of them, the bigger story is going to be much more about, okay, 2-0 is a paper wins, and they're a paper tiger and stuff. The embarrassment of a whiteout's not going to be. That's so far down the ledger, I think, of.
Yeah, I know, but you coming from the college world of bullshits, like all the dumb little headlines and stories and little school to school matchup things throughout the week, have to understand the nudging you get when you get embarrassed.
Right, but that's college.
And pull a maneuver like that.
Right.
I know, embarrassment's embarrassment. I don't care about it.
I think it'd be
at the end
absolutely-
of the day for both college and NFL, the only thing that matters is what's on the field, but it's embarrassment is embarrassment. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think there'd be none. I think it would. I don't think there'd be any. I don't think. Let's put it this way. I don't think like First Take or any of the hot take shows or.
No.
I don't think even like the back page of the Post would be something like. White it out if they get their asses kicked or something. I
You
really
don't think so?
No.
I think you just wrote it for them. I think they've got that one on deck already. I think that absolutely would happen.
But even if it
but
doesn't-
I'm not. I'm never going to be embarrassed by a fucking New York Post thing anyway. So.
Right. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think embarrass is it's really strong for potential, and I don't know. I think
what is a weaker word?
Nudged.
Tweet? I think you're overblowing my statement.
Yeah.
All right, Philly at Washington, 1:00. We agree? This is Philly all the way, right?
Philly all the way.
Washington, are they cooked? Is Ron Rivera done?
It feels like it, doesn't it? Like it seems like when you know something eventually is going to happen, and as opposed to something really quickly, like a Joe Judge situation, but this is something that just seems like it's ultimately going to end up in a firing, whether it's 3 weeks from now or the end of the season. It definitely feels like the end is coming to this guy.
Yeah, I don't mean to say that after just like 3 losses, whatever. Like, as I already write this into history, I say it already. It's 3 losses. It hasn't happened. But
remember, they made the playoffs. The only time is because Philly tanked.
Yeah.
Against us. So I mean they can hang that banner all they want, but we always talk about the Giants. They might have made the playoffs, but not a playoff team. Same with Washington that year too. So and it's been a bad division.
But I mean, I don't know. It's just been a tough go for Ron Rivera. They haven't really been good. And also over time, it's not like the Daniel Snyder allegations or bad stories have stopped. It's not like they've increased either. It's just been there's still more. It just keeps happening.
Right.
It's just like nothing really good has come. I don't know. Be interesting to see how long.
Let me ask you a quick question about Washington, and I don't know if you've been following this or not, or if you have even an opinion on it. But the Phoenix Suns had a long investigation about their owner, and they found that a lot of sexual misconduct, a hostile work environment, blah blah, all this stuff. And it turned out he was suspended for a year, and pressure was applied on him, and he announced this week that he's finally selling the Suns. Do you see Snyder actually selling this team because of all the stuff that's going on with him, or you think he's just going to hold out until the bitter end, like he's kind of a Teflon owner? Because it's a similar situation.
I don't know. I mean, I know comparing the NBA and the NFL for I don't know, morality things like that is like they operate on 2 different levels. Like the NBA is very quick to, react.
They're more progressive.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I don't know, and I've been wondering for a long time if Daniel Snyder was just trying to increase the value of the team before selling it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Just to get the most out of it. But he's might still be doing that, but like the way he dicks around with like just not paying for the stadium and shit like that, I just don't know. I have no idea what that man wants. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like I just don't get it. I don't know what it is. He is sitting on a thing that he could sell for money I can't even put into words, um, and
And
he won't.
I think the other thing too is that the NBA, the players are very vocal about causes. Whether it's Black Lives Matter or, in this case, LeBron James spoke out and Chris Paul spoke out. Who in the NFL really, from the player side, is that voice? I mean, the only person that was really like that hasn't been in the league now for 8 years and was basically shunned by the owners, on Kaepernick. So I don't know if you have.
I mean, Richard Sherman kinda.
He's not in the league anymore.
Okay, he's been out for a year now.
Right, but I mean, it's still, a player having
I
that
get what you're
voice.
saying. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah. So I think that having the pressure coming from the players as well slows that process down of having a change for something like that. But at the end of the day, the NFL is all about business and money. And as long as, I guess, sponsors don't pull out of a team like Washington, he's going to stay there.
Let's move it to college.
Yes.
College weekend.
Yes.
I am going to be watching the noon game. I'm going to be watching lots of games. There's lots of good games to watch, including things like Wisconsin, Ohio State. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be watching. That's certainly one I'm going to check out. But it's not the one I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about a noon game between Clemson and Wake Forest because I'm really excited to do like these like college weekend things and get into it and talk about the stuff as it goes throughout the year and not just during draft time. But the first couple of weeks, not really even watching matchups. It's like a demo of skill players. So this is the first time that Clemson is playing a real opponent, really, and Wake Forest same. I think Wake Forest already played Vanderbilt, which is kind of a real opponent for.
They're a member of a Power Five conference, and that's so they are a little better. They have a little different offense this year, but
I mean, like
it's not a directional school for sure.
Like you said, for starters, it's a Power Five school,
right?
Which is already over most other teams. But so these two will be playing each other. There's a wide receiver for Wake Forest that I really like, A.T. Perry, a 6'5", 205-pound junior. He's a former basketball player and a long jumper, so those are traits you can obviously see on film. He also had a huge performance against Vanderbilt, 5 catches for a touchdown and 142 yards, and that was against the legit opponent that they played. So interested to see him against Clemson, who has two defenders that I think a lot of people really like. Brian Breesy, 6'5", 305-pound redshirt sophomore defensive tackle, and 6'5", 275-pound junior defensive end Miles Murphy. Both of those already have a sack already. So I think that's going to be a really fun afternoon game to watch where I can kind of sit there with my beer and breakfast and feet up and just take some notes while I watch. You're going to be watching other stuff, right?
Yeah. First of all, I can't wait to see that picture on the gram of you.
Oh yeah,
in your Giants pajamas and your beer.
I remember. Yeah.
I can't wait to see that one. I'll be getting on a plane tomorrow, headed down to Knoxville, Tennessee, to see Florida, Tennessee. We won't have any Anthony Richardson comments this week. I think the record speaks for itself that he's much more of a project. I think he's got to get his mechanics and more importantly his head figured out before we have any discussions about the next level. But we'll leave that for now. What I want to see is Tennessee's quarterback, Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker is a 6'4", 218-pound guy. He's 24 years old. He's a 6-year super senior. Remember when COVID happened in 2020, everybody got an additional year of eligibility. He originally signed with Virginia Tech, transferred to Tennessee. This is his second year of starting. They had a guy, Joe Milton from Michigan, who transferred over, but he beat him out early last year. I was at the game last year down in Gainesville. They had a couple of long pass plays, but other than that, the offense was kind of sputtery. He has a quick release. He's accurate on short and intermediate passes. His deep ball isn't very accurate. Um, and also when he rolls out, he's not as accurate either. Um, the other thing it's tough to judge with a guy like that is Tennessee runs that super up tempo offense. Their coach, Josh Heupel, was from UCF, and if you remember when they won their self-proclaimed national title, they were the team that would hike the ball every 6 seconds max, and they do that at Tennessee now. So while it might be effective, against college teams, it's not an easy read or indicator of, NFL teams don't do that. So it's a different kind of skill set. So it'd be interesting to see how he translates to the NFL game. But I want to see at that game, I want to see his decision making. I want to see, some more of the accuracy, midfield, downfield. Hopefully he's not accurate on Saturday, but, those are things I'm looking at because he's one of those guys, kind of, in that mix of SEC quarterbacks that is all over the map for on the draft board for this year.
Yeah, I think guys like him tend to be. Previewed him earlier in the year. I think coming off of the draft, so like in the spring, I think I previewed him.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely going to be fun to watch him. I'm still interested in watching Anthony Richardson develop. I really like his traits. I mean, for me, Florida just on offense, there's not a whole lot that I'm really keying in on. But more than anything, I think coming out of Florida this year, the guy I'm just continually looking at anytime I watch is going to be Osiris Torrance. Right guard has just been a monster. And it's quite frankly something that the Giants need. So that's going to be my real fun Saturday.
I talked about him before the first game of the season, and their run blocking has been fantastic. They're sealing the edges. They're getting nice gaps, nice holes. These guys have huge lanes to run in. Quite frankly, if they passed 10 times a game, they probably would beat 70% of the teams they play, even some low and mid-tier SEC teams because of the offensive line and, this, trio of running backs they have. I don't want to do too much Florida, analysis for this show because quite frankly, some of the best guys they have are underclassmen and freshmen. So there's no point in talking about them for the draft, but Torrance is definitely a guy, watching him week in and week out and seeing how he's sealing his guy and, flattening people is, a definite bright spot on this team and, a highlight to watch going forward, no matter who Florida's playing going forward.
That's right. So that's going to be our Saturdays. And then Sunday, we're going to be sitting around watching football. We will record our episode Sunday night to give you the most up-to-date possible episode ready for you on your Monday morning work day and amp you guys up for that Monday night showdown on ESPN, which they'll remind you every 8 seconds what channel you are currently watching and what to find on that channel every day of the week going forward.
Let me ask you one question, Grump. Obviously we're going to be there, but if you had to watch this game on TV, would you be watching the Buck and Aikman broadcast or would you watch the Manning cast?
I want to say I'd probably watch the Buck Aikman one only because it's my team and I just need the straightforward whatever. You know what I mean? I
Agreed.
just need to know what the hell just happened. I don't have the Manning cast is far more entertaining. It's far more valuable information most of the time. But I'm too emotionally involved in that game to be dealing with their hijinks and whatever.
I agree. It's perfect for just Steeler Browns night. I'm not that, whatever. I'm watching it, but that little side, it's almost like they're perfect for a baseball broadcast where your mind kind of wavers and you can watch along and it's not so every play needs to be dissected and analyzed. So I'm with you 100%.
All right, so we will see you guys next on Monday morning, and then hopefully we'll be hanging out with you Monday night, and then we'll see you all again. I don't know if we won't have one Tuesday morning. It's probably going to be a Wednesday morning episode.
Probably, yeah. Good thing that if you're going to the game, it's at L17. I believe Kennewick Diner is sponsoring it, so it'll be a big spread
Oh
there.
shit,
So
that's right. Yeah.
yeah, they're definitely we're trying to have a nice turnout for that. So come on by.
So the next time we'll see you is Monday morning and hopefully Monday night. And until then, go
Go
Giants.
Giants.